Well, good morning, everybody. We're trying to get the band settled down, but I think are you settled down yet? Yeah, well, whatever. We do welcome you as we celebrate what God is calling us to do and to be, and as we gather together, we invite you, if you've not done so, to take these little white booklets on the inside, pass those around so we can see who our brothers and sisters are who have gathered for worship. If you're a first-time visitor with us, we'd love to have your information to be back in touch with you about our ministry. So we welcome that. We also welcome prayer request cards. If you have a prayer request, we invite you to please write legibly on that card, put that in the offering plate, and we will indeed celebrate your prayer, not only here, but through our prayer ministry that we do have in place. Several announcements we want to call to your attention. We have the highway cleanup at 3 o'clock today. If you'd like to participate in that, show up. We go out by Chester. Is that it? Where? Wherever that is. So we'll take the bus out there. You can follow along. Please bring gloves if you could, because it gets a little bit gnarly out there. We do about a 2-mile stretch. I'd love to have you come and participate in that. Also, we have middle school helping out with that.
Yeah, middle school and high school will be joining into that activity, so talk with me if you have questions. We're meeting at 2 today to talk about the mission trip, and then at 3 we'll go out with the group. So if you're planning on coming to that, talk to me. If you're not planning on you can talk to me too.
Also, May is Rags to Riches. You want to talk about
May
that?
May is Rags to Riches month, and I looked in the narthex before we started service, and the bucket is basically overflowing for Rags to Riches. So if you have cloth that you need to get rid of out of your house, old towels or scraps of things, bring them by, put them, if not in the collection basket, put them next to it in a bag. We are happy to take that. This is in part a great way to keep stuff out of our landfills, and in part it also raises a little bit of money for us from the organization that we do it with. So if you have questions on that, you can talk to Diane Pollock or just drop off your things into that basket anytime during the week or on Sundays as well.
Good, thank you. Kirby.
Yo! Just a couple words about the play that we started here at East Church in our stage. It's Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare, but it's been all mostly, I can use my outdoor voice. Oh, okay. It's mostly modern language. Pretty much it's all been translated to modern language. It's a musical, which means it's a lot of fun. We've got 31 in the cast. Age 10 or 12 is the youngest, the fairies that we have. And you're going to have fun. You're going to laugh. At least 2 of the ladies from our congregation were there and said that they were brought to tears. Not because it was sad, it's because they were laughing so hard. So, and I see Ben nodding back there. They had a good time. They were there, I think, on opening night. And it is funny, so if you have any questions, talk to them and come buy tickets. It's going to have a great time. Thanks.
Graduation Sunday is approaching June 4th, so if you have a graduate in your families, please let us know. There's a form to fill in, or you can call the office and we can explain where that form is. So we just want to make sure that we catch everyone who's graduating this year, just in case you aren't actually listed in our directory that way. So make sure that you know about that. And then I also wanted to do an update on our Vacation Bible School. Will be June 12th through the 15th. We'll be doing it once again with the Congregational Church, but it will be here. We currently have 4 volunteers and 2 signed up youth or children. So please, if you know of kids that might want to join this event this summer, grab a registration form or send them to the website where it's also posted. If you want to volunteer, we would be happy to take that as well. We do still have some different positions open, leading, shepherding, or teaching science, which is a fun one. So it'll be a great week and a lot of fun. Youth are encouraged to volunteer. Adults are encouraged to volunteer. Sign up the kids. It's age 4 through 11.
Good. Thank you, Beth, for that. We do want to just call your attention. The Christ candle is usually lit. I talk for a living. It's usually lit, but for some reason it's not working, so we are mindful of that. Somebody asked me about that. A couple other items I wanted to share with you. Prayers for Nancy Hummel's family. Nancy Her mother passed away this past week. Her service will be held on Tuesday at 11 o'clock over at our sister church, St. Paul's in Eota. So prayers for Nancy Hummel. We also welcome back Becky Maloney at the first service. Mike and Becky have been gone down south, and Becky had several surgeries that she was not expecting, but they are back in town. So we give thanks for that. Also for Ernie Rober. Ernie's undergoing some pretty serious health issues right now, so prayers for Ernie as well. And just an update, I'll be gone next Sunday. Our youngest daughter, Leah, is finally graduating grad school. Praise God, yeah. So we'll be heading to South Carolina next weekend, and then the following week is our music celebration Sunday. It's one service at 10:30 on the 21st. So please be mindful that all of the music from all of our, the choir, the bell choirs, One Voice, is that everybody? I got bells, choir, everybody. Yeah, it's just a big music celebration. We want you to come for that as well. And then I have to clarify this, because after the 21st, then I'm gone, but not permanently. I'll be on sabbatical for 3 months. I forgot to say that I was going to be on I forgot to say I was going to be on sabbatical at the first service. I said I'm going to be gone. And everybody thought that I was leaving. So the good news or bad news, I'll be back. So we'll say that. So we do want to just share one other thing. We just had a congregation meeting. Gail, could you come up and share with us a little bit about what took place there and our direction as a church? Thank you for your work.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you doing? Good. Yeah. What? There's only a few kids. That's true today. That's okay. You can be loud few, right? So this morning we are celebrating something very often called Good Shepherd Sunday. So what does a shepherd do?
They work with farmers.
They work with farmers, yes, very often. Do you know what kind of animal they work with?
Chickens.
They don't work with chickens, not very often.
Cows.
Not with pigs or cows either. I'll give you a hint. It very often has white, woolly fur or hair on it. Sheep. So what would a shepherd do if it works with sheep? What do you think? What does a caretaker for a sheep have to do?
Run away.
Run away? I don't know if they would run away. They might need to care for that sheep. So they might need to provide it food or water or a place to run and roam. The other thing that shepherds do is that sheep have a tendency to wander. And so shepherds have to call them back and find them wherever they went in their fields or on their hills. So if we're a shepherd, or if we're the sheep, as a sheep, we are called to follow and to listen to what our shepherd is saying. As a shepherd, we have to provide food or water or meals for people. And we also have to help them find their way back. So at the church, we're called to do those things too, right? Mm-hmm. So we eat, and we care for other people, and we watch babies as they go down steps. We talk to people, we share with each other, and so we engage both as a shepherd and a sheep. So today, we're going to pray that we are both shepherd and sheep. So will you pray with me? Grab hands if you can. Be a shepherd and a sheep. Dear God, thank you for showing me all the ways that I can follow as a sheep and lead the world as a shepherd. Amen. You can head on back to your families.
We give thanks for all the ways that God blesses us through all of our rich gifts. Hello, Tyler. It's a good day, right? It's a really good day, right? So I want to talk a little bit today about what it means to be a community of faith that cares for each other and really embraces one another. And this passage from Acts chapter 2 is such a powerful way for us to understand what the disciples are going through, but also what we as people of God go through today. So from Acts chapter 2, now to frame this a little bit, for those of you who know the Pentecost story, that's the story where the Spirit came upon the people and everybody came in with different ways of talking and understanding what God was doing. But through the Spirit, they all understood together what God was calling them to do and to be as God's people. And we give thanks for that, because that specialness then comes on the heels of that wonderful story about how they lived together in community. This is all about the disciples. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayers. Awe came upon everyone because many wonders and signs were being done by the apostles. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all people. And day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Now that's the church, don't you think? That's what the church should be about. To be a member of that church. That's to die for. Here's a church where there's an active faith formation program where folks don't drag their kids to church school merely out of guilt or habit, but rather because everyone is so devoted to the apostles' teaching that they actually want to come. The children wake up on Sunday morning and they say, Mom or Dad or Grandma or Grandpa, let's go to church because I really want to be there. And the parents are saying, of course we want to be there. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Does that happen in your home? Here's this loving church where one doesn't have to have the fear of God or the threat of God or the guilt of God beat into them with the Bible simply that they could find Jesus, which we didn't know Jesus was lost to begin with. They had a wonderful time together, these incredible church people. They loved each other. They had everything in common. They loved to fellowship with one another, not limiting their contacts to a simple 1 hour on Sunday morning, but they daily met to share all in the good times. They fellowshiped, they ate together, they drank together. Can you imagine daily being with one another, being with me, poor Debbie? But day after day, they got together because they had this common understanding and vision. Can you imagine? Daily they met more than just an hour or so, but they met, they lived together, they did everything together. They actively cared for one another, having all things shared in common. So why would those who would view this community in today's world be more of like a hippie commune area? These people who were there together simply sharing everything they had with one another and sharing love in the midst of all. It's an incredible church. It's a church without factions or cliques or power struggles or divisions. All who believed were together. It's not some sort of a David Koresh strange cult, but a true togetherness built around the love and the peace and the hope of Jesus the Christ. And they all believed together. And these people, they sold everything, and what was left over they gave to those who needed it, not themselves. They sold it all. They lived together. They created space in their homes so that other people could actually move in together. So Adele and I have made a pledge. We're selling everything, and we're looking for a home. Any takers? Don will be there today. But these people who gathered together, they prayed together. They grew together. Every day, new people flocked to be members of this church. And when this vision of the early church in Acts is laid along the side, the reality of the church, as we experience it all too often here today, we might say to ourselves, oh, to be that church, to be in a church, well, that would be awesome, right? Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you, you are in a church like that right here at Peace. And we declared part of that about an hour ago. You see, that's you and I, no less than they live in the light of Easter. Easter is not just something that happened once to Jesus, a dead body that was raised from the dead, but Easter continues to live and happen all in our midst. And if you're actually here on Easter Sunday and you were awake on Easter Sunday, you remember my message that we're not here to believe in Jesus, we're here to live in Jesus. And Acts is saying to us that Easter has communal political implications in our lives and in the world. Here were these folks, these people, and they're just like us. They didn't have all that much in common. They came from different parts of town or different countries, different social groups, and it's tough to get together across boundaries of class and income. Some of them were really poor, some of them were really rich, some were hungry, some were not, some were light-skinned, others dark-skinned, women, men, children, all together, and it didn't matter. They were all together in that common bond. But you see, something happened to them. Something happened to them. Here they were around the table, sharing with one another, talking and eating and laughing, looking out for one another. No sociological or economic theory could explain why these, who had so many things that could divide them, never let things divide them, only let God unify them, and they were together. There is no explanation for all of this except for Easter and the resurrection, the risen Christ in their midst. Something new had broken out among them. It was new life and possibility and community and love abound, and they were together. Now, during my first month as a pastor of my church in Illinois, when I was in seminary, they send us little peon seminarians out to these nowhere places. But I served this great church in a little town in Illinois, right outside of St. Louis. And when I got their congregation together for one of those favorite things you like to do, the meet the pastor moments, where you get to sit down with the pastor and talk about the church. But they also had some wonderful apple pie, so, you got to keep that in mind. But anyhow, we got them all together to get to know the church better and to enable them to get to know me and the vision of my ministry and for the future. And during the discussion, I asked them that wonderful question: what does this church need to be the best church that it can be? So I said, go ahead. Tell me honestly what you think. Don't be shy. Be brutally honest with me. What does this church need to do to be the best church that it can be? Go ahead. And there's this wonderful, awkward silence. But then the old man, who I learned to be the curmudgeon of the church, a man finally spoke up. He said, I think we need for once to have some good preaching. When I think of all the lousy preaching we have had over the years in this church, well, I think it's a testimony that God must really be with us if we're still here today. And I thought to myself, man, don't hold back on me here, and I'll be honest. But in a way, this old curmudgeon, this brusque old man was right. The fact that we are all here today, good preaching or not, crossing all of our T's or I's correctly, is a testimony that God must be with us. God has to be with us. When you think about all the things we have going against us in this world, the ways in which many of us were brought up, the prejudices that we are deep within inside of us, the divisions that we create between race and class and gender and income, the ways of overzealous power and corruption, the ways of self-righteous hypocrisy, the ways of temptation of the world. It's amazing that Peace United Church of Christ, that we're still here together, loving one another, caring for one another, and sharing for one another. And heaven forbid that we would actually take a risk and tell our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, God is here for you in these walls, and you are welcome, period. That's what it's about. It's amazing that we are still here, because God's not done with us yet. It's amazing that we continue to have the voice of present and hope in this world in which we live. We may not be the church exactly described in Acts 2, but even in our fumbling attempts that we have to pray, to worship, to study, to care, to witness, to minister to one another, we are somewhat of a miracle. You are a miracle. You're an Easter miracle in the making right here in these walls at Peace United Church of Christ. And my friends, I thank God, and I can't tell you, I thank God for you every day. Every day. I thank God for you because I see the resurrection taking place in your lives and in your hearts, in the things that we do and the things that we are. So how do we know that Jesus was really raised from the dead on Easter? Is there really that proof that can make it true? Well, I say there is because all you need to do is just kind of look around you. Look at what happens in this church. Look at the lives that are transformed and the folks who find a place of welcome and possibility and find the resurrection like they've never experienced before. We saw that a little bit in the light on Easter as that beautiful puzzle behind me as we created that butterfly. Well, people brought their brokenness, their hurt, their struggles, their pain, but through it all, the resurrection gave them the permission to fly and to be the love of God. So I want you to seriously take a moment and just look around, folks. Look, not only here, but look afterwards in the meal. Take a look at the faces that are gathered around you and the faces that aren't here. Take a look at these beautiful windows around us and look at all the memories that are left by those blessed saints that paved the road for us, who have gone before us. Take a look. Don't be afraid to look at all of the incredible ministry that we have undertaken in this church over the last years. 115 years of ministry here in this community. It's incredible. It's unbelievable that even in spite of what we have not done, in spite of our inadequacies, that we are even still here as a church. But God's not done with us yet. And that we are the reason that He has risen, because He's right here. Easter is true if we can be here today worshiping and celebrating with one another. And when it comes down to it, the only proof that Jesus has been raised from the dead, that life is stronger than the bonds of death, that there really is a new power let loose in the world named Jesus the Christ, the only proof is us, the church. A body of ragtag people whose lives together is so new, so inexplicable by any other means, that it makes no sense at all that we should continue to do what we do. But God is not done with us yet. Generation upon generation have known the love of Jesus the Christ, and that indeed God is risen in our midst. Now, I thought about that passage and what we're celebrating today and how God calls us to be God's people. And really what's led us along this journey is that indeed through the life's path that we have chosen to follow the one who leads us, the Good Shepherd. If we truly follow and continue to follow what God calls us to do, not what we want, but what God calls us to do, all things are possible. So we want you to join with us as we sing together. He leadeth me, O blessed thought, O words with heavenly comfort fraught. Whate'er I do, where'er I be, still 'tis I and that leadeth me. He leadeth me by His own hand. He leadeth me. His faithful follower I would be, for by His hand He leadeth me. Come on and join us now. Lord, I would place my hand in thine, nor ever murmur nor reply. By by waters still o'er troubled sea, still 'tis I and that leadeth me. He leadeth me by his own hand. He leadeth me. His faithful follower I would be, for by his hand he leadeth me. And when my task on earth is done, when by thy grace the victory's won, and death will wave, I will not flee, since God through Jordan leadeth me. He leadeth me by his own hand. He leadeth me. His faithful follower I would be, for by his hand he leadeth me. He leadeth me by his own hand. He leadeth me. His faithful follower I would be, for his own hand he leadeth me. You know, those old hymns give us a great foundation for who we are and what we believe. If we really trust that if we could follow God where God calls us to be, incredible things can happen. Incredible gifts of welcome and hope and possibility and promise. If we truly follow this one, all things are possible. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the darkest valley of life, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows, but surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long, forever and ever. The Lord is my shepherd. You can take that to the bank. Amen.
To continue in our tradition, because this is our church.
We make it what it is.
Others will feel welcomed.
If I am welcoming.
It will do a great work.
If I work.
It will make generous gifts to many causes.
If I am a generous giver of my time, talents, and treasures.
It will be, and it is, a sanctuary for social justice and peace.
If I advocate for marginalized communities
and practice peace in every setting of my life. It will be a church that embraces all, builds community, grows faith, and transforms lives. If I make it what it is,
practice these things.
Therefore, with the grace of God, let us be forevermore, today and always, a safe and inclusive church living God's radical message.
and I shall dedicate myself to being all the things I want my church to be. Amen.
Let's celebrate as we come together what God is calling us to do.